Hey guys, how's it going? On today's video, we are continuing with the ultimate E30 5-lug swap. And in this video, we're going to be rebuilding the M3 or M Roadster brake calipers. I already have two done. Disclaimer, I'm not a mechanic. I've learned how to do this via YouTube, but figured I'd make another video just because there aren't a ton out there and make sure we're going over all the parts. Let's get started. So like I said, I have rebuilt, so this is a rear and that's a front, so those are ready to go. Then we have all the pieces in front. So as I go through the pieces, I'll put the part number on the screen. So to start, we have Hawk Street 50 pads. These are their street pads, like I said, high performance street pads. We have a anti-rattle clip. Then we have rubber caliper guides with the caliper guides themselves. Again, as I explained in the last video, if you haven't seen that, click the link above. If it's a race application, you would want to use the brass caliper guide bushing set because there's less play in it. But when there's less play in the brake caliper bushing and it's metal on metal, it means you need more maintenance, taking the brake caliper apart, cleaning, making sure everything's still good. Since this isn't a track car, I am just going with the OEM route with the rubber ones, and that's good for me. Then we have a brand new piston. I believe this is a 60 millimeter piston. If I'm wrong, I'll put it up on the screen. You have your square seal, which is the secondary seal for the piston, and then you have the dust cover and the front seal for the piston. And then as for the rear, again, Street 50 pads from Hawk. Another rattle clip, a lot smaller than this one. Same caliper guides and the bushings as the other one. Then you have another seal. That's the front dust seal. The square seal. I believe this is a 45 millimeter piston. And then I forgot on the other side, but we also have the bleed nipple, which is the same for both. So I'm gonna get everything set up and we'll get started. So I'm gonna start off with the smaller one, and then I just want to do a brief explanation on how we got to this point. Obviously, when you take the caliper off the car, it's crusty, it's gross, and you gotta take it all apart. So easiest way to do that is you just normally disassemble it, and then when you're trying to push you can either leave it on the car and have someone press the brake and it'll push the piston out, or if you have like an air compressor, you can take something like this. You don't really need a lot of pressure. Make sure the bleed hole is closed and take off the brake line and stick that in there and give it some air, and just make sure your fingers aren't here. Or put a piece of wood or some foam, because if you put too much pressure, it'll just blow out and could damage the piston if you want to reuse it. So make sure and if your fingers are there, I learned the hard way, it will hurt. So that's what I did, and then I just cleaned them up, took them to powder coat, and if the powder coating people are good and have done it for a while, they know exactly what to mask off and what not to mask off. So if you guys are looking for powder coat, I went to Andrew's Powder Coating in Canoga Park. They did a great job. They've been doing it a while. They know what they're doing. So they sandblasted and then powder coated, and it's ready to go. So some other things you'll need for this is a number 7 Allen key head, if that's the right one. You're going to need a torque wrench. I'm got a nice, bumped the camera, got a nice snap-on one, borrowing from a friend. Thank you, Harrison. You will need some assembly lube, just from AutoZone. So there's some brake lubricant, or you could use the stuff that comes out of, with the pads, hot grease. And, if you're not cleaning up and powder coating your stuff, you're going to want to pick and a right angle pick, take the seals out in the beginning. And I saw one way, excuse me, I keep bumping the camera. I saw one way of getting the caliper guides in using some needle nose pliers. I never got that to work for myself, but maybe it'll work for you, so I'll still show it anyway. And then lastly, just some high temp Loctite, just a tiny bit to put on just the edge of the caliper, metal caliper guides into the bracket. So I'm gonna put some, and maybe a rag or some gloves if you don't want to get greasy. So I'm gonna put a rag down and flip over the caliper, and we'll get to assembling. Okay, just another disclaimer again, not an actual mechanic, just doing this and learning how to do it and share my knowledge with other people. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with some grease and the square seal, and we're just gonna lube it up. And you want to make sure that there's no rust in there or in the channels. So if there is anything, take the pick and scrape it out. But if there's not, we're just going to go in, and I'm trying to see where the light is. But there's a groove here for the front seal, and there's a groove behind it. Let's see. There you go. You can see the two grooves there. So this is going to go in the back. So you're going to put it in, and then just feed it through until it's all in and seated. Okay, so that's all in. So you can see that's where the seal is right there. You want to make sure it's nice and flat in there. If there's any other problems, the caliper piston will not go in. Just take some more lube and just get it nice and lubricated. You want the piston just to nicely slide right in. So get that in there and on to the next step. So we're gonna need our piston and the other seal, the dust cover and the seal. So again, take a lot of lubricant and just get both sides inside and out. You want it to be nice and lubricated. I will be sure to link the other videos I watched in the description below, because obviously none of these techniques are mine. So now that we have that, so you can see this side, when it's flat, the top side will be on the outside, and then the bottom side that has an extra ridge will be going inside the seal. And the piston will be going with, the opening will be outside and the flat bottom will be on the inside. So what we can do is start from the top, and you start from where it's flat and you'll feed it in. Bouncy camera. Difficult, there we go. And then it's gonna get stuck in the ridges. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pull it and extend it and pull it out of the ridge, and then you want to just leave, a fourth of an inch or something out here so that you can set it in and then push the rest in, and then you can pop the piston in. So I'm gonna actually add some more grease, lube around the piston so it's nice and smooth, ready to go in. Dry my hands off a little bit. It's easier to do it when it's like away from you. Let me adjust the camera a little bit more. Get the camera a little bit lower. There we go, much better. So just gonna put a little bit more. So again, pull it off the top there so that it's down below. Don't let it come all the way off though. So what you're gonna do is, there's a ridge right here. You're gonna feed it into that ridge right there. So start by doing the bottom, and it should kind of seat itself. Easier said than done. Make sure that that's off, and you're kind of just feeding it in. I know this is the worst, probably the worst angle to do it at, Let's see if that's any better. You're kind of just tucking it in all the way around. Make sure the bottom side's seated too, which it is. And then all you should do is, you should be able to do it by hand as long as it's straight. And just, that's not straight. It should just feed itself in, and it'll lock itself there. And just keep going. And she is in. So there you go. Piston is in. You know, you could try to pull this up, check to make sure it's seated well. And then obviously if you have a problem, just take the air and push it through and it'll pop right back out. But this looks to be all good. Give it a quick check. Nice, seated properly. And we can move on to putting these things in, the rubber guides. So these kind of are a pain. I might just have to skip through it on camera, but what you'll do is you'll lube them up. Get them nice and lubed. And then they're going to go in this way. So it's cone shaped to help it go through. So it's going to be seated like this. So towards the back of the piston, you want the cone to go. So you'll feed it in. These can be easy or these can be hard. So, you know, 2 fingers and I did the other ones by hand, and then I'll show you the other method the other guy was talking about. But like I said, you might have to do it outside. Push it against the table or your knee. And when you have greasy fingers, it is not the easiest, but you will eventually pop them through. And let me see if I can get this one to do it on camera. But, you know, put a little muscle into it with your fingers. But so the other method that I saw, and then you'll see it in the link below in the other guy's video, is he'll take some really long needle nose pliers, stick it through, open it up, and then pinch this, and then yoink it through. I didn't have great luck with it, maybe because I'm just doing it wrong. But you know, a little elbow grease and doing it with your fingers does seem to work. I found it easier to do it on the large caliper and the large piston than on the small, because there's more room to grab. But so we'll just I might have to do it off camera, but just push as hard as you can, and eventually it'll pop through. So there we go, and they're both in. So there we go, and then I'm just gonna add some lube on the inside of the guide, so just kind of pack it in a little bit. And just get it in there, and then get in the other one. Okay. So now that's pretty much done. I'm gonna clean up, and then we'll move to doing the bracket with the metal guides. Okay, so now with the bracket and the metal guides, I'm just gonna add the tiniest bit of red Loctite just to the edge of the thread. I'm doing this through the camera, so if I spill, that's why. But we'll just add a little bit in there, and then screw it in by hand. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. Add a little bit of red Loctite. Put that to the side and screw it in. Okay. Put the cap on your Loctite so it doesn't spill everywhere. And then we're going to want to torque these to 22 foot-pounds. I think that's like 30 Newton meters. Don't quote me. I'll put the conversion on the screen. But with your number 7 Allen, or whatever Allen, you know, fits perfectly, we're just gonna put a torque on it and get it done. 22. Need to buy myself one of these. I still use the click style, but I asked if I could borrow this as I do these. So that's good. Let's get this one. Okay. 23, a little higher, my bad. Turn that off. And then what we can do is, I don't know if it's the best idea to mix grease, but I am taking the grease then from what comes with your brake pads, take a little off, and put it on the guides, and a little more, and then just getting these greased up. Okay. And then we'll bring caliper back. I keep finding it easier just to, you know, have it faced away from you. And then we're just gonna pop these in the holes. It can be kind of tough in the beginning, but once you get one in, the other one usually goes. There we go. There's one. And then the other one will just go in with it. There we go. There's both. Slide it back, and then there's a lot of grease that'll come out. I kind of try to pack the sides with grease, just so it's nice and filled, so that there's no issues. Take off the rest. Yes, I know that's just grease packed into the guides themselves, but maybe it'll leak out. So then just add your caps. Give everything a quick wipe down so that there's not a ton of grease everywhere. And then I'm going to quickly add in the bleeder screw. I'm not going to tighten it down until I install it. And then it's going to be the shorter of the 2 lines, out of the actually 6 lines from the Garagistic kit. So you're going to have your rear, 2 rears, your 2 fronts, and then 2 that go in between the hard line and the hard line to the soft line, where you're going to add in your Garagistic braided lines back to the hard line for the brake caliper to, or that goes onto the trailing arm. So I'm going to hold off until I put the pads in. So I'm going to face it towards the camera now. And this one with the clips will go into the piston. They do want you to put a little bit of grease on the outside of the piston, anywhere that will connect with metal. So I'm just going to take some of that and just give it a quick coating. Again, not a mechanic, but trying to help other people out. Okay, and then we'll just feed that in here and pop that in place. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. Get some more grease. Smear that around. just gonna fit this here. It should pop right in. If it doesn't pop in, the caliper, like I said, there's a little bit of play because they are rubber. So if you need to, just kind of push to one side and then it'll pop itself in. So let's see what side wants to go in. Either side. So I'm just gonna give it a quick push that way. There we go. Let's go back over. And then there we go. Now that is good. Nice and positioned. Excuse me, push the camera too far forward. Then lastly, we're just gonna add the anti-rattle clip. So best thing to do is just place it on the top here and kind of put it at an angle and then just press down and in and it should click into place. You don't want to pull the guides too much. Make sure everything is positioned properly. And there you go. Then we'll just flip it over and install the brake line. Again, not tightening it down until it's in the car. But there you go. That is a completed rear caliper out of a 98 M Roadster. So I'm gonna reset and then we'll start again with the front. Okay, so with the large one, it's the exact same process as with the small one, just everything's a little bit bigger. You know, the rectangle seal is bigger, the dust shield is bigger, the piston's bigger. Everything else is the same. Same torque spec, same everything. So I'm just going to do a quick time lapse of putting this together. And if you guys have any questions, just put them down in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. So let's get started. So there you have it. There are the Z3M E36 M3 front and rear calipers complete. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments down below. If you have any problems with the stuff I did, put them down below. I'd love to hear. Down below will also be all the links or all the part numbers for the stuff I used in the video. The next video will be the diff rebuild of the 2.93 LSD. So thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.